the way it is. We're going to loop these up like that, bind them with this bark wire, making ourselves a handle for our faux basket. Once you get that in, just spin it around and see if you think that's straight enough. You can push it forward a little bit. You want it to be really vertical, not leaning too far in either direction, not sticking too far out in either direction. So you can tweak it a little bit after. And the pussy willow doesn't really need the water. It's only going in the oasis just to hold its position. So we'll have that, which will then go in here, making a nice basket with a handle. Now, we'll take some of our pre-cut laurel and just go all the way around, covering up the edge of the plastic so you really don't see it, and it keeps up with the illusion that we're using a basket. And you might say, well, why don't we just use a basket? Wouldn't that be easier? Maybe, but you wouldn't find a basket this unique. It would look just like everybody else's arrangement, so this is a little more creative. And you could use this grapevine wreath again and again. You could hang it on your door later, so it will get a lot of use. I've got a little bit of seeded eucalyptus here. One of my very favorite greens. I like the texture. This one isn't as heavily seeded as some. And I'm just going to accent around with that. I'm purposely leaving the top of my oasis kind of free of greenery, because the next thing I'm going to put in is this bunch of tulips. And tulips are a soft stem flower that can be hard to put in oasis, so if you're going to do that, you don't want to have to also go through a pile of greens. I'm going to group again with all my flowers going close together if they're the same type. And I don't want to go too far up because I really want this handle to be an accent that shows up, and if I bring my flowers too far up, you're not going to see the handle as well. I'm cutting these fairly short and taking off any of the foliage that will get into the oasis, really up to that first bunch. And I'm going to go all the way around so that this can be used as a centerpiece on a big round table or anywhere really. It'd be nice if you had a big enough coffee table even. So when you're using a soft stem flower for oasis, it's good to start it, hold it right there at the end and kind of feed it into the oasis little by little. Don't try to hold it here and then like, oh, it doesn't work, because you have to really hold it tight at the bottom and feed it in. And make sure you're going, at least halfway down the oasis, really, because that oasis is going to dry from the top down, so you want it to be closer to the bottom where most of the liquid is going to be. But also you should remember, anytime you have an arrangement of flowers in oasis, you want to add water to it every single day, especially if it's in a little shallow dish like that. That's going to dry out really quickly. And here I'm using some miniature green hydrangea, which is one of my favorite flowers too. I have a lot of favorite flowers. Good thing I'm a florist, right? I'm cutting these really short. Really just like an inch or two a stem. And I want to work them down deep underneath my tulip. We're going to put the other hydrangeas down very low and deep into the oasis all the way around. So you can see we have almost a finished arrangement. We have a few more things to do to it. Pink and green is the theme, in case you didn't notice. And we're going to cut these short, pull out these leaves that are lower. This one I'm actually going to cut this way, so I have a little more berry left. And those are going to go down. In between the hydrangea to fill up that space all the way around. And then I'll use these little stray pieces up through the middle. I want this arrangement to have a real garden-y feel, so I'm trying not to have everything perfect. Like these tulips are gonna do what they want anyway. Have you ever noticed that with tulips? You put them in a vase perfectly and then you come back a little while later and they've all turned every which way. They're a heliotropic flower, which means they will turn towards the light. And there's several types of flowers that do that, tulips being the most common of all. You'll see that with anemones, snapdragons. They have a little bend on the top and they'll point straight up if you put light above them. These are ranunculus, which looks kind of like a mini peony almost. It's a beautiful papery looking flower. I'm going to add through here, keeping into my pink and green theme. And I'm going to put some of them up a little higher with the tulips and some down lower with my hydrangeas and my hypericum. These might be a little tough to get into the oasis too. They're another one of those soft stem flowers. So you've got to feed it in, just like with the tulip. I'm going to go all the way around. Turn it a little so I can see. That one just doesn't want to do it. Every so often you just have to give up on one. Put it in a little vase on your windowsill. These ranunculus will open up quite a bit bigger than they are at the moment. So your arrangement will be almost like a living, changing thing, because between the tulips turning whatever way they want and the ranunculus opening up more, it's not going to look the same. So don't get overly obsessive with making everything stay where you want it. It's not going to do it anyway. Use this Springeri fern, and I really think I would like to emphasize my pussy willow curve, so I'm going to stick that into the oasis right on these sides, and then maybe I can just tuck it around like that, just to add a little bit more green coming up with my pussy willow. Like so, keeping that same curve. This one almost stays without much tucking. And for a little bit more fun, some butterflies. I think I'm just going to poke in right at the top. They come on little wires, which I've cut a little shorter. Yeah. And there you have an original basket that you can make out of a grapevine wreath. Maybe you already have, or you can pick up or make if you have grapevine growing near the woods.